So yeah, it really does kind of feel like that's the correct answer to all this, which means the fact that thyroid issues are so common nowadays can also lead to why depression and identity issues are
Right.
such a
And
common problem.
everybody's on antidepressants and things like that.
And do antidepressant medicines affect your thyroid?
Yep, that's what this article is saying. I mean, and that, let's see if
Which
the,
is why so many people who are on antidepressants always get more depressed.
yeah, well, and I think too, like I was saying, if they checked everybody, maybe they wouldn't need so many antidepressants. And I know some of you are thinking right now, well, what is causing all this low thyroid? Well, the most common thing I see is mercury. Mercury amalgam fillings. Mercury's known to block thyroid hormones, so that's I think a huge one. Many people have mercury amalgam fillings or haven't had them properly removed. When they have them removed or replaced, if they do that, that's a big one.
Well, there's
Also,
mercury tends to get into a lot of stuff nowadays. They don't seem
that's
to
what I
be
was
as
gonna say.
protective of it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of found everywhere. So heavy metals of any kind, and that's a whole other thing.
Oh
Coffee
yeah.
is full of cadmium. People don't realize that. There's heavy metals anywhere. So any kind of heavy metal buildup, which interrupts the electrical signals of your body. Think about that. That disrupts the thyroid. The other thing is hormones that would block. So, and this is a whole other subject, but men and women in the modern world get way too much estrogen. So, and when you get too much estrogen, it lowers thyroid hormone levels. And so, where does that come from? And I'm vegan, not by choice, just to make it very clear. I would eat meat tomorrow if I could. So, but it would be healthy, organic, grass fed, properly grown meat. And that's the problem is you get the cheap meats from, Sam's or whatever, 1,000 cows per bite of hamburger. And it is full of all sorts of hormones. Everything's stored in plastic, microwaved in plastic. That puts off hormones. There's hormones everywhere.
Well, and as you said earlier, hormones can also reverse affect your thyroid.
Yes.
So your thyroid affects your hormones, but hormones can also affect your thyroid.
Yeah.
Which means when you're getting hormones you're not supposed to have, it can then affect your thyroid,
Yep.
which affects the rest of the hormones in your body
Yeah.
in other places.
And you have to look at this too. What do they say? A very large percentage of Americans, I believe it's now over half. I think we're over half are morbidly obese in the United States. Whether the cause of that or not is thyroid, and sometimes it is, it's a matter of fat stores estrogen. The physical fat cells store estrogen. So the bigger you get, even if you're not ingesting that estrogen every day, it's being stored and put in your body by the actual fat. So we have a lot of complex problems, especially in the Western world, and that's causing a lot of these thyroid problems. So, and the last thing you need, and this is why, people will get to be 400 or 500 pounds and they think they can just eat less and do all these things and exercise and they'll lose weight. Not likely because it sets up this whole complex thyroid hormone complex that's physically in the fat. It's not as simple as just eating right and exercising. So it's complicated, and I think we're having problems. Like I said, those are the main causes. Would be the heavy metals, the diet. Diets full of hormones and artificial sweeteners and things that are toxic to the body. It wears it out. It just draws more thyroid hormone than you can make.
Hmm.
So it's a very interesting thing. So what it has to do to check the battery here. I thought it was not plugged in.
There was something else too I thought about. There's so many different questions and thoughts going in my head. I can't keep up, but
Yeah.
like we were saying, there seems to be a solid connection to all of this, and it's kind of unbelievable to think about because it's something that's been so neglected
Mm-hmm.
that it can also be so crucial, and it really seems to have all these negative effects in our daily lives. It seems to stem from the fact that we don't keep our thyroid healthy, and
Yeah.
we take in so many different things that affect it. But another thing too is you mentioned that the metals, something about like hormones and metals.
Uh-huh.
Go back to that again. Refresh my mind.
Oh, the
The
heavy
heavy
metals causing thyroid issues.
Yeah. What was that again?
Oh, how it does?
Yeah.
Again, because you got to think of you have the electrical signals in your body, and any kind of metal will disrupt or send different directions than it's supposed to go electrical signals.
Because we're talking about the mercury.
Yeah.
So then also heavy metal problems can be causing it because then you also back when you first had this problem, like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
it wasn't that you got your thyroid fixed. It was actually that you took something that got rid of all the heavy metals in your body that you then started feeling spiritual again. Is that correct?
No, it was with the whole incident of me not taking thyroid medicine. Within 3 days of getting direct T3, I was felt, I immediately felt, quote unquote, felt God again. I could feel spiritual things again. So, but that's again direct T3. As far as like removing the heavy metals,
Because you did take something to remove the heavy metals from your body, and it
yes.
helped in some way, didn't it?
It did. That's a whole. I mean, if we have time for that, that's a cool testimony because, again, I had mine nuked, and they, and this all happened this year. I didn't know if I'd make this
technically
public.
speaking, your thyroid should be dead.
Should be dead. Yeah, and
it was confirmed, like you said, like 3 times.
Yes, it was definitely confirmed with scans and whatnot. So I started taking, and there's a video on my YouTube channel, the TRS for my food allergy situation, and what that does is removes all the heavy metals in your body. And I was taking that every day for probably the last, it's got to be 3 or 4 years. And in the meanwhile, I got my last mercury filling removed. I did not know I had. I had almost all my teeth pulled to get rid of the mercury. I had a lot of it. And I do believe that is what caused my thyroid problems because...
The exposure to mercury, because when they tried to pull it out, you probably swallowed some.
Well, no, about the time after I had you, I had a whole bunch of mercury fillings put in.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was only, like I said, a year and a half later that everything went to hell. So I believe that was what it was, but... I had those mercury fillings I had from that time, and they started to crack and things like that, and I could not find dentists here in Oklahoma. It's a hard thing to find a dentist who knows how to properly remove them and not get all the mercury in your body when they're doing it. So I had them all literally pulled to not have that exposure, and then I would detox from the mercury. And I was sure they were gone. Nope, I had one that had been covered by a sealant and somehow was not showing up on x-rays, and when it cracked, the dentist goes, oh my gosh, there's mercury filling in there. And I'd seen several dentists. They all missed this one. So I had that one pulled. And then, so at that point, I'm free of mercury that could keep constantly going back in my body. I'm taking the TRS. And I end up having lab work for a different reason. And I was feeling very hyperthyroid, which has never happened before. And I took the lab tests showed I was hyperthyroid. So I started backing down on thyroid medication. And in fact, I did it again. I went, I'm just going to go off this and really, see what my body can do. And I definitely have activity. I have thyroid activity, and I'm not supposed to. It's not up to par yet, and I'm working on that. But I'm kind of wondering at this point, with removing all the toxins, giving my body what it needs.
That it revived your thyroid.
That is growing back. I must have had a couple of cells left, so, And
that's a testament to how strong your body is. Some people think that whenever something happens to your body, that's it. It just, there's no recovery. It's like your body can recover from so much. People don't realize just how nearly indestructible your body can be if it were truly healthy. There's like no one on earth that's actually truly healthy, it feels like.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone's ever excited about bad lab work. I was very excited, and I came home, I showed my husband, I got on my phone, and of course he doesn't understand it at all, but I go, look, is that 0? He's like, no. I go, so there's something there. It's not what it should be, but I'm like, in theory, there's something going on there. So people may have noticed the weight gain here, but I'm trying to up what I have and get it, to do what it needs to do. So very exciting. So honestly, if you're not even far gone like I am, you still have one. There is hope. You need to get rid of the heavy metal intrusions that are in your body and, really lower your exposure to hormones outside your body. Eat healthy, lower your inflammation, things like that, and watch what your body can do. If you still have a thyroid, you can get it to work correctly and get off these synthroid medications and things like that.
You might be able to get off a whole lot more because does your thyroid have any control over your immune system? So there's white blood cells?
Yeah, everyone always talks about vitamin D and vitamin C and all this, but if your thyroid is, running low, if your TSH is high, if you're subclinical or even clinical, low thyroid, your immune system's not going to be where it needs to be. They do know that your killer white, everyone knows their killer white T cells, thyroid has a lot to do with producing those. So if you're if your levels are too low, you can't produce the amount of killer T cells you need. In fact, And I'll bring this up because I've seen this with cancer or AIDS patients. They will, and this is so sad, they will often have really bad thyroid levels, and all their doctors ignore it because they say you have cancer, you have AIDS, that doesn't matter. Well, it matters. Your body cannot heal itself with low thyroid, and often if you get their thyroid levels optimal, everything else comes down. So it's very much connected to your immune system. You know, it's part of your body. If anything's not running optimal or even where it should be, it's it's going to affect your immune system. But there's patterns in nature. Everything, God made it kind of obvious. For instance, He wanted us to be able to just, if we're walking through, say, born in the forest, we're like Tarzan, we don't know anything. It's like He left us clues, like walnuts look like a brain, they're good for your brain. Tomatoes look like a heart, they're good for your heart. The lycopene, it was kind of like there's patterns in nature.
Yeah.
Like you were saying with the butterflies and the thyroid, there's obvious patterns that we were supposed to go, this equals this.
Because people naturally attributed butterflies to the spiritual aspect of life.
Yeah.
And then it just so, like, they wouldn't have known about the thyroid, assumably. They wouldn't have known that the thyroid is connected to the spiritual realm, or that the thyroid even looks like a butterfly, and it was a natural connection.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look back through antiquity, there's no hieroglyphs of thyroids, but there's hieroglyphs of hearts and stomachs and things like that. So that obviously was the focus. It's much like you're not going to take your wrist and focus on that. They didn't consider it important.
Yeah.
And sadly, I think it's the little organ that could. It doesn't get the attention that it deserves. But if it goes wrong, you'll be giving it some attention.
Yeah, I feel like there's still more to talk about too. It's like it's such an interesting thing. I'm actually surprised because I felt like early on we wouldn't be able to come up with anything, but then we just kept going more and more. I feel like there still is more.
Well, I could talk about thyroid stuff all day. I mean, you could talk about thyroid and just even one of the 300 symptoms and how it relates. It's so sad.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, I just keep thinking about how is it connected to this, or how is it connected to that. It's like even going so far as like there's brain cells in other organs, isn't there, or something like that?
Oh, you're thinking of like heart cells, or even the one most people think of is your stomach actually has more serotonin receptors than your heart and things like that. So we have receptors for different things all over our body. We don't think, we don't put the two and two together.
But then that still means that everything has some sort of connection to the thyroid, because they had those receptors, and the thyroid hormones control the other stuff that controls those receptors. Or there's some sort of connection to everything.
Oh, there's definitely connection to everything everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's
and
why.
And also, I feel like there was something you mentioned about how like the bottom of the feet have every single nerve connect to it, so you can feel every part of your body. Mm-hmm. And there's something to do with the thyroid that way or something. I can't remember.
Oh, you're talking about pressure points like reflexology. Yeah, so I believe it's in your big toe. The other thing that's interesting is...
Oh, and also eyes. And you say something that the thyroid can affect your eye color?
There's so many signs in your body of thyroid issues that, if you study these things. But yeah, like with iridology, there's thyroid points in your iris.
But is there points for every part of your body? That's not like a unique aspect?
There is. Your eyes are much like your feet. Like all your nerve endings are there. The eyes are the window to the soul. They're the window to your body too. There is different things you can look for in your iris. But as far as like thyroid goes, people don't realize this too. And if you're out there, you've probably had this and didn't know what it was, but people can have rashes on different parts of their hands, and it corresponds to parts of their body. So like when I had the thyroid issue, my thumbs would absolutely rot just right here.
It's just the thumbs.
And it was, it was so itchy. And I honestly, everyone would yell at me, stop itching. And I would just run my thumbs over the arms of the chair because they were fabric. And it was like, give me a cheese grater or anything. It was a nonstop itch. And it would bubble up in these teeny little bubbles up underneath the skin. And no dermatologist, nobody could identify. Now I see it on a lot of people. And I go, thyroid. But it was always right here.
Because when you fix your own thyroid issues...
It went away.
Ah.
Yeah. And if my levels ever go off at all, it'll start to act up right here. And so, like, you could have other issues. Like, here could be liver, much like your feet. Everything corresponds in your body. Your nails have a lot to do with your health. Everything is related. So, don't think any one little symptom is nothing. Oh, it's like I have a rash right here. it's just a rash. I'll put some cortisone cream on it. It's not important. Well, it probably is important. It's telling you there's a problem somewhere in your body. So that's the same with thyroid. And it says right here, T3 has everything to do with GABA receptors. Everyone's taking GABA, trying to up their serotonin levels. They get the supplement GABA at the store. You got to think of like your Lyrica and gabapentin, made from GABA. Those are the two most common nerve medications for seizures or nerve pain. So it is all related. So there's your nerve thyroid connection right there, the GABA. And also the dopamine and things like that. People that get Parkinson's, it's a dopamine regulation issue sometimes, and that's thyroid too. I've had Parkinson's patients that give them some T3, and they do way better. So there's...
Because I also think there was something, you said something about, it was like regenerative aspect to your body that is connected to the nerves or something like that, so that they can also be connected. Because don't forget, phantom pain is something to do with the nerves. Even though the nerves aren't there, you can still feel them. So I thought maybe that's an aspect of feeling your spirit or something, maybe.
Yeah. Well, then you have that's a whole other subject.
But then if there is a connection between the nerves and the thyroid, then perhaps it's like a two-way street where you're only feeling it because your spirit still has it or something,
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down with this because there's like enough connections where you can theorize about different aspects of life in all ways,
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's such a fascinating theory that we came up with, because there clearly is something there. It's not like, we found like one connection. It feels like everything starts making sense when you think about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fascinating thing. It's like every time we learn a different aspect of the body, we immediately go, how's this fit in the theory? You go, it really, really does. There's nothing that seems to counteract it in any way that I can think of.
Yeah, well, it's and the more you learn about the body, the more you're just overwhelmed with how little we really know about the body. And it is all connected.
But also, nowadays, people feel so worried about their body. Everyone feels so defenseless and fragile, and they're so careful about their body. But the more we keep learning, it's like, it feels like the body's indestructible, and we just allow it to be destroyed.
Yeah. Or we do it to ourselves.
Yeah. It's like, if people just fix their thyroid and got the metals out of their body, they would have like, it feels like it's a miracle cure or something. But if nowadays people are so worried about getting sick and viruses on it, but the thyroid has a connection to like white T blood cells and all that, then it's obvious that the best protection you have against all these viruses is just to have a good thyroid and to get rid of the metals out of your body. But also, people shouldn't go overboard, because again, you don't want to get hyperthyroid from taking too much.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Every time someone hears about some sort of part of their body that if you just take this one thing, it improves it drastically, they always go overboard.
Well, speaking of going overboard, I feel like I need to have this disclaimer because I run into this every single day. But you're listening to about the thyroid now, you're getting excited, and you're like, I'm going to start looking up stuff to get my thyroid levels better and get healthier. What does everybody do? They go straight to taking iodine, and this is where they go overboard. I can't count the amount of people I've warned, I literally can't, not to take iodine. So if you go there, everyone's going to go, everything you read from holistic people is going to be, you need more iodine, you need kelp, which contains iodine, because your body cannot produce thyroid hormone without iodine. Here's the other reason that Americans and the Western world are low thyroid. We get too much iodine. People go, well, I don't eat seafood, right? Not the seafood. It's in the salt. We have iodized salt, and Americans eat too much salt. It's everywhere. They're getting too much iodine every day. It's lowering thyroid function. That's what they gave me to kill mine, was radioactive iodine. It was iodine. If you get enough iodine, this is how you cure hyperthyroidism, even without the radiation. You just give them enough iodine, and they stop producing as much thyroid hormone. So all you people out there doing the Lugals, doing the iodine test, taking iodine every day, you're hurting yourself. Even if you feel better, and some people will feel better at the beginning, they'll feel better for a short time.
Especially if they were hyperthyroid, where it would then bring them down to a manageable degree. But then later on, when they keep taking it, when they've managed
Right.
it then goes the
It
opposite.
goes too low.
It's
Yeah.
hypothyroid.
And
right?
I see this every day where someone goes, but I'm taking iodine. I go, oh, here we go. And it's so hard to wean them off the iodine because they read, it's like, well, who are you to say that they're wrong? I'm like, science says they're wrong.
Well, also that's a consistent pattern with modern medicine, which is if you need to take something for your body, that means you take it for life.
Yeah.
And your body is actually not designed like that. If
No.
something's wrong with it, you take something for a short time until it fixes itself. Then you immediately stop taking the thing, because your body now takes over from there.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're missing organs or something, even then,
And so like
your body changes all the time, and levels will change all the time. So, I mean, you're exactly right. But again, I mean, so I'm warning you about the iodine. Do not take iodine unless you're actually deficient. And you can do test kits from home. You can order. But even then, I'd be very, very, very cautious and only under professional supervision to ever touch iodine. So,
but that's also the biggest issue, which is there's no real professional thing on thyroids in a lot of ways because it's still so neglected.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find someone who really knows what they're talking about. Is that correct?
Right. Well, and you'll find all these holistic doctors that are telling you to take iodine. They still have their thyroids. I'm like, I'm not saying Hair Club for Men. I'm my own customer, But having been through it now since I was 19, I've learned a lot. I've suffered a lot. I've helped so many people with their thyroid problems, and I see it over and over. Well, so-and-so, my friend, my aunt, the internet, Dr. Axe, whatever, I'm not sure he did it, but, people like that will say, or the people working for them will write articles saying you need to take iodine. And they do it, and they get worse and worse, but I'm taking iodine, and they don't put two and two together that iodine is making them worse. So not only then do I have to correct the thyroid hormones, but I've got to remove the excess iodine. So just be very, very, very careful. The best advice is eat clean, reduce the hormone impact on your life, reduce the artificial ingredients, dyes, sweeteners. Splenda is a real bad one. It's made from chlorine. Chlorine is proven to lower thyroid function. So I know people, I knew someone that was an Olympic swimmer, so in a chlorinated pool all the time, it got her thyroid levels really low, even though, as you can imagine, Olympic athlete, very, very healthy, vegan, organic, raw, and then she did extra marine collagen and things like that, and her thyroid still tanked because she was in chlorine several hours a day. So Splenda is made from chlorine, not sugar. It lowers thyroid function. There's so many things that can. So, it's hard to explain so much. There's so many things, but
that's why we're also saying this probably sounds incredibly exciting. You're like, oh, this fixes everything. It's a miracle cure. It's not, because you can't treat it like a miracle cure because it's not a one size fits all. Mm-hmm. It's not something where you can just take it and it works immediately, or you take more of it to make it work even better. It's not something simple. It's going to require a lot of dedicated research and understanding of your own body and a lot of tests even. It's not something you can just willy-nilly get into. Yeah. That's the problem, is that everybody seems to be in need of it, but everyone needs to be treated on a case-by-case basis, which means it's going to be a lot of work for even one person to get this type of thing fixed in their life.
I mean, it's exactly true. I probably 90% of my clients that have low thyroid or low thyroid symptoms, I put on organic from New Zealand, and of course you have to get it from me. Sorry, it's professional use only, but natural desiccated thyroid, or what they call NDT. And that is the best treatment because it contains all your thyroid hormones in its natural synergistic state, like your own thyroid would make. And then your body takes what it needs from it, makes its own hormone, and the rest goes out. So over time, it rebuilds your current thyroid. You can get off of it and you're normal. But there's other aspects to that. You just can't give it to everybody and that they'll be well. There's other things you need to do. So it isn't, he's right, it's not a one size fits all thing. It's kind of like chasing the fountain of youth sometimes.
You really need a personal professional person on it, because it can't be like you just go to a doctor, he knows about it and can prescribe to you. You need someone who knows you specifically.
Well, and you have to know yourself to use NDT. It was before Synthroid was invented. It was what was given to low thyroid patients. The reason they got away from it was you have to regulate it yourself. Does any doctor like that? No. You go by how you feel, and you take more or less based on how you feel. So you have to become in tune with your body. Most people are not. Most people want the doctor to say, take one of these in the morning, and that's what you do every day. They don't want to be in charge of their own health care. So it does require a little more attention to your own body. And that's, it was also sad to say, it's, again, it was what everybody used. It used to be called armor, and that was from pig. I will not, for many, many reasons, not just religious, use pig. It's for other reasons. It's very, very unhealthy, very unclean, parasites, things like that. It's also hard to get. So
yeah, so it's not necessarily because of like religious. It's just that the way they
I thought
use
we turned that off.
Oh.
Oops.
Well, this is getting long, but the point is that the pig has a lot of actual like issues just because of the production of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, that's why they went away with it too. So we, there's very few practitioners in the United States that use the product that I do. So, and the reason I found it is because, I don't have a thyroid, so you got to know it works. And I know too many people who, I know people who don't have a thyroid and their doctor says, you don't even need Synthroid, you don't need anything. We took it out, you don't need anything anymore. And they're 300 pounds and sleep all day. And their eyes are permanently swollen shut and bags under their eyes and bald spots. And, to me, that's medical neglect. But I see it a lot.
Even the bald spots makes you think there's always this prevailing theory in a lot of cultures that the hair has something to do with spiritual reception.
Definitely.
And so a bad thyroid makes you lose hair because you're losing your connection to your spirit. Okay, so I don't know where I was at after
before
the
air conditioning came on,
but she mentioned that even the hair falls out with bad thyroid issues.
Yeah, and
many cultures believe that the hair is a receptor for the spirit world or
an antenna
of some sort. It's in a lot of ways it's the same as what we're thinking about the thyroid, but the thyroid affecting hair growth can also cause a connection there. If the idea of the hair being connected to spirituality is true, then your connection to your spirit through the thyroid is affecting your hair too. So someone with bad thyroid loses the connection to their spirit, which means they lose their hair.
I think that's why Samson was not allowed to cut his hair. In a more modern story, if you look up the Wind Talkers with, I believe it was World War II. I'm not a history buff.
Code Talkers.
The Code Talkers, yeah. If you look that up with the Native Americans, the military actually, and I believe to this day, does not require Native Americans to shave their hair. And it was because of during the Code Talkers, they realized they lose some of their spiritual abilities when they cut their hair. So that's kind of documented research, as strange as that is. You can look it up. So there is some, very interesting connections there with thyroid making you lose your hair, and then, you could be losing some of your spiritual abilities or your intuitions. I naturally, obviously like long hair, and I've always been that way. My hair has pretty much always been long, so I don't know if there's, and I don't do that for any reason other than I look silly with short hair, but maybe there is a connection with that. I've always had long hair, and that has a lot to do with it. I don't know.
But yeah, we keep going down rabbit holes because it's so interesting. And like the more you learn about it, the more you're able to draw these connections with other things, But it means you're gonna have to do a lot of research. That means everyone watches this video. You're probably thinking, "Oh, this sounds like something that connects to a lot of stuff." But if you don't actually look into stuff and you're not researching yourself, you still might not notice all these different connections, the ones that even we haven't noticed yet.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, people watching this video, you need to actually start researching this, because you might discover stuff we haven't. It might be very important for the health of people in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of the undiscovered country. We know about it. We, starting to know what it does, and it's just sad that it doesn't get more attention. I know everyone's suffering with it. I hear this all the time. Why don't they do more research? Why don't they know more? And I'm like, there's just no money in it. They consider it a simple cure, although insulin used to be a simple cure for diabetes, and they thought all we need is insulin, put you on insulin. Well, now there's all these different forms of insulin and all these secretagogues and precursors, and so I'm not saying that someday they won't come up with something better.
So we do want to remind people not to go too quickly into the thyroid thing. Really do your research and really think about it. Don't like take a bunch of stuff immediately. You know, be very careful about how you do it, because if you do it wrong, you're only going to hurt yourself even more. Especially with how much bad thyroid affects your entire body in life and everything you feel and think. You don't want to mess with that more than you should.
Well, that's our goal too, is to just give you guys ideas and bounce our ideas so that you start doing more research and discover things on your own. So,
yeah,
you know, that's just, we're just, you know, letting you in on our 2 a.m. talks.
Yeah, because like this, it was like really crazy when you first thought about this, and it keeps getting crazier the more we think about it. You know, so I feel like this is like the moment in which we can scientifically prove the spirit exists. Is like by researching this, we might actually be able to break into that barrier. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down bunny trails on this for years, and you'll be shocked if you start looking into the thyroid and all the aspects, and depression and dopamine and all the things that it has to do with. You realize that this is where they should be concentrating, not on adrenochrome. You know, something that actually can work and can make a huge difference.
Yeah, but you just gotta be careful. There are so many things, especially things that are prescribed to you by doctors or you get from medical professionals, that are actively just hurting your thyroid. It's actually a common problem. It's because they just don't even think about the thyroid. They go, this medicine doesn't have very many symptoms, or then it completely destroys your thyroid. They go, yeah, that's totally fine.
Because we can give you Synthroid for that.
Yeah, it's so dangerous now that we know how important the thyroid is, but it's so neglected that every single drug seems to, like anything you nowadays see people are taking certain things that they're trying to do this because of all the problems we've been having, like in 2020 and all that. They're taking this stuff and it's completely destroying their thyroid, and they don't feel like themselves anymore.
Yeah.
And they're doing this to protect themselves from a virus that, if they had a healthy thyroid, would protect them naturally from it.
Yeah, I should bring up too, going on a different tangent here, as far as like there being a pandemic, or real pandemic, epidemic situation with thyroid in humans. There is in animals too right now, and people wonder, they're like, we never had problems before. No one ever had cats and dogs, and now they seem to all get it eventually, and people are wondering why. It's, again, they started adding iodine and kelp to all the commercial dog and cat foods, and voila.
Wow, I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, so it's not just the added iodine and kelp, it's that these foods are so overly processed, and then they add back all these vitamins and iodine and kelp. So now it's real common. Pets are, getting the hyper or hypothyroid as they become seniors, if not sooner. And it's again, the excess iodine and things like that. So
wow.
It's they tell you to cut back your salt intake. It's not just the salt. So, and people go, well, I don't eat that much salt. Again, if you're eating out a lot, you're eating microwave meals, they have a lot more salt than you think. Do your own cooking, get Celtics or sea salts, that's not iodized. Always get non-iodized salt. You get plenty of it other places. So that's kind of tip number one, when it comes to thyroid health is, 3 things. Get rid of mercury, watch out for the hormones, and iodine.
Didn't we talk about in the previous video something about salt in spiritual stuff too?
Yeah.
And now we realize that there could be ionized and non-ionized. I wonder if there's a connection. If the non-ionized one is better or worse or something like that.
You just made me think the same thing when you said it. So it's like, what do we do now?
Again, another rabbit hole where it's all connected. That's the weirdest thing. Everything's connected.
Yeah, it's like, do we, quick, we need a salt circle. Wait, no, it's the iodized salt. I mean, yeah, does it make a difference? I bet you'd have to do research. I mean, it seems to be that iodine carries a positive charge from what I'm finding, and you want anything to counteract demonic activity to have a negative charge. So I would naturally assume you want the non-iodized salt, which is its natural form. It has naturally occurring iodine, but when we say iodized, it means they've added iodine to it.
Oh, okay.
It'll say iodized on the bottles. They've artificially added iodine to it.
Huh.
You know.
That's the interesting thing about salt. It repels water, and then or how like it.
Yeah.
It has the reason why
water.
it displaces water, and that's the reason why salt is used to dehydrate stuff. It's because it just like I guess propels it off what the surface it's on or something.
Yeah, it displaces it. So
and then also it has iodized, and so there's so much connected to salt in the spiritual realm that we're not realizing.
This is a typical salt, Morton, and it will say iodized.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in case you guys didn't know what we were talking about, that's iodized salt. And it's the cheapest. You usually look at that, although it's out of stock. $1.52, if you...
And that's probably the common one you find everywhere.
Gosh, that's 4 pounds for $1.52. Yeah, if you bought 4 pounds of, say, Celtic sea salt, it's going to be $30-$40. Yeah, you'll use a lot less salt.
What I'm saying is, like, if you go to a restaurant, in a salt shaker, it's probably iodized more than likely than not.
Yeah, and a lot of restaurants have these sea salt grinders, but if you look, it'll say iodized. It's not actually sea salt. They've taken iodized salt and they just have the larger coarse salt so you can grind it.
And that's what I'm saying. It's every aspect of life seems to be designed to destroy your thyroid. It almost feels like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
you just can't escape any of it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to escape. How much of a life do you want to live, It's hard to find. You do have to research what you're doing, and you can still have fun, still live your life, but if you ate junk food once in a while, not going to kill you. But if you eat it every meal...
The point is that if your body is healthy or your thyroid's healthy, it can counteract anything you really put at it as long as you're not overtaking stuff that's directly affecting your thyroid.
Yeah.
Your body will... take in stuff like if you have a cheat day, it shouldn't affect your body as much as it does now if your thyroid's healthy, unless that thing is directly affecting your thyroid, right?
Yeah.
Because like I was saying, your body is stronger than you think it is as long as it's initially healthy. Is that the people are so unhealthy and their immune system's so weak that they can't get to the point of being healthy enough to have a cheat day anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the sad thing, is people are so worried about their health and feel their bodies are so fragile because it feels like they didn't have a chance because they grew up with such weak thyroids and health issues in the first place.
Yeah.
But in actuality, your body is so much stronger than you give it credit for.
It is. It really can handle a whole lot more than you throw at it. You know, especially if you're, healthier to begin with. So... It is. Your health has a lot to do with your spiritual connection. We just thought we found the exact way it was connected spiritually, as in the physical thing the spirit connects to or anchors itself to.
Yeah.
And the more that we look into it, it's like, aha, that is definitely it. So.
Well, not to mention too, when we were going through the spiritual house cleaning, there was so much about speaking and how you have authority over things if you know its name, and the thyroid's connection to the tongue.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Yeah. They come from the same place in the body.
Is there anything connected to the diaphragm? With the thyroid?
To the thyroid? I mean, I can't think of anything immediately, no.
But it still has something to do with breathing at the very least. Yeah. So there's still some sort of connection to it. It's like,
I'm sure if I research it, I could find a connection.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's becoming like everything's universally connected to the thyroid. Because your thyroid is connection to the spirit realm. And the spirit realm affects all aspects of life, it seems. Yeah. Which means if there's two realities, they're directly affecting each other. And the thyroid is your middleman between the two realities. Then that means everything's somehow connected to the thyroid.
Yeah.
It's the bridge.
It is. It's the bridge. I mean, I think it's like they said, the silver cord of life. I think right here.
Yeah.
So.
This video got like really long.
It did.
This might be our longest video. It's not the one we expected it to be.
No, at the beginning we're like, I don't know if we're going to make 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We just thought we'll throw this theory out there and go with it.
But I also think that the video length will actually get people to want to watch it because this seems so important.
Yeah, I have to break it up or something.
Well, I mean, like people are going, all right, why is this one of all the ones the longest one?
Yeah.
I think that might be important.
Yeah.
But I suppose we should stop before we keep going.
Because
we might keep going.
Yeah, and solve more mysteries.
Because I feel like there's a lot that we overlooked, like we skipped over.
I know, but I think you guys will get the hang of it. And like we were both saying, research it yourself. Start delving into it if you're, kind of a nerd like me. I think you'll find some fun bunny trails,
And if you're a doctor with access to expensive equipment that you can use to research this type of stuff, even if you can't get the grants, please do it for our sake.
Yeah. I mean,
We
research
want
is
to learn
always
more.
good. Yeah. It's especially if you are endocrinologist or you treat this every day, start looking at your patients. I know, crazy. Actually looking at your patients, actually looking through their files, actually spending your time to do what you're supposed to do.
Well, and it also goes a lot with what you're saying about how different aspects of your body explain your entire body, such as the eyes or the feet, or even like the thing about the fingers and all that stuff. That's something that maybe some doctors specialize in, but not the average one does. And if that really does have a lot to do with your whole body, if someone's an endocrinologist, that's they might want to study up on like the eyes or whatever, so they can properly treat their patients when it comes to the thyroid, maybe.
Well, I mean, the problem is Western medicine is if you go to an endocrinologist and you have a rash, he sends you to a dermatologist. Nobody is holistic, which means whole, the whole, doesn't look at the whole body.
Yeah,
They compartmentalize everything, and that's why nobody's getting well.
So in a sense, every doctor is operating with blinders on.
Yeah.
You go, what's wrong with my body? Go, well, this tiny spot in your body seems normal, so I don't know what to do. And so our person goes, well, that spot may have been a problem, but I didn't look at it because it's not my field of research, you know? And so it's like there's a lot of things going on. It's like something on alone could look good, but in addition to something else that alone looks good, but together they actually might reveal something bad. Yeah. But because doctors are so focused on one thing, you're not getting the full picture. Yeah. It's like, I don't know how you could possibly fix that, but that's the sad thing about there's no one who's able to know everything about every part of your body. So, So like that's the sad thing is you're never going to know everything about your body.
Nope, you won't. Yeah, and you need to find somebody that at least looks at everything as a whole. Is this related to that? Maybe that foot cramp has to do with this. I mean, every symptom in the body means something, and it doesn't mean that if you have 100 symptoms, you need to see 100 different doctors. Well, then 2 of them will figure out what's wrong with you. It's just. Number one, don't give up. Don't take what doctors say as the end-all, be-all. If you're having symptoms, there's a reason, and you need to figure out the root cause of those symptoms. If you need help with that, email me. It's a serious problem in medicine today. I mean, I deal with it too. I'm, not having a thyroid, different things I've dealt with. It's enough to make you go insane when you have to deal with the medical system in America. It really is. Yeah. But it's not just America, because our Western medicine, much like McDonald's, has infected all these other civilized countries, and it is the way medicine is practiced now.
It used to be if something wasn't understood or couldn't be done in America, you just go out of country to get it done. Now it's all the same. Yeah, it's all been standardized, and so you can't really escape it anymore. Yeah. And there's been a lot that's been lost because of that, because other countries understood modern medicine a little bit differently than we did, but now it's lost, and it's possible that something very important was lost in that transition.
Exactly. So don't give up, seek answers, and please research this. Again, different subjects, but if you need to reach out to us, the contact info is at the bottom. And I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. I'm sure we'll bring up other things. I'm still
coming up with things and forgetting them while I come up with other stuff.
I know, but we're pushing 2 hours here, so I like it's 2 a.m. But feel free to reach out to us, and I'm sure if you've got more questions, write them down. We can do them another time.
Yes, that's another thing too. We gotta remind people, please write down comments and questions, because we really, especially with a subject like this, there's still more viewpoints and directions to look at different things and aspects of life that we haven't considered. So if you ask a question, you go, oh, now it makes sense. That might even be a missing part of a puzzle that we were thinking about but didn't mention or something like that. Yeah. But you go, well, what about this? You go, that makes sense now. So please ask as many questions as you need.
And we love questions. And when we'll eventually do like a live Q&A once we have everything set up to where it works out well.
Yeah, because I think that would be a fun video. It's just to answer questions, or especially if it's things that we haven't thought about or things that we might uniquely have an answer to because other people haven't really thought about it or found a solution, but maybe we have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to get out of your hair, pun intended.
Yeah.
So you guys have a great night. We will see you next week. Please feedback. Definitely like and subscribe and share. We need more of that. So God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.